What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Eighth Groove Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Rivas, and today we got back Nickolas Tucker, a longtime golf friend, super close friend, and caddy at Pebble Beach. He somehow just rocked out the mullet real quick. I didn't even realize he had it going on
Uh,
last time he was on the call, and you started, dude, that thing's wicked, bro. I like it, bro. You got the style points, bro, from back to front.
Thank you.
Yeah, bro. So today's topic is the job of a caddy. What a caddy's up to, how they can help you, kind of a little bit into like what Nick does and how he's able to help and just like the hurdles, the obstacles, the I want to hear the juicy stuff too, because there's a lot of angry golfers out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, to have a caddy now, I can like blame it all. So before we get into all that, like yeah, welcome back, bro. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Happy holidays too to
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. Yeah, definitely, bro. Well said. Well said. So, what are some like first things like some staples like you got to do these things every time you caddy, doesn't matter who they are. What are some basic things? Whether they're going to help or it's more like you greet someone, you shake their hand, you look them in the eye and you say, "Hi, I am," introduce yourself. But like whether it's helping their game or just something like the unwritten laws, rules, the caddying. What are some of those things?
I think like the most basic description is like the bare bones description is like, okay, we'll carry your bag, clean your clubs, have tees for you and balls for you whenever you need it. Get yardages to wherever, but at least the middle of the green. Rake the bunkers, read the putts, whole descriptions. But
What do
after
you
that, it just varies a different amount.
What do you mean hold description? Hold what?
So, like, yeah, before the hole or after the next hole, I'll tell them
Oh,
about what's going on with like, oh, there's 220 to that bunker up there. Just notable things to know for the tee shot or the next. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You're like assisting with all the little nuances that we take for granted. We're doing all the way to even like cleaning the ball, right? Do you
Yeah,
really?
that too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know you like yeah. Do you always keep a wet towel?
Yes, for
That's a
sure.
sign of a player. Uh,
Mandatory.
Yeah, yeah. Players, high level golfers, they always have a wet towel. I say that even though I played some of my best golf without it, but it's because I
Uh,
don't have a caddy, man. I'm too busy,
yeah.
like, focused on my game, and I used to play with a wet towel and bring it to the green every time and wipe off my ball, and it'd be one more thing. Now I just like, yeah, I wish I had a caddy, just for that.
Yeah. I was just thinking like, so I said what the job description is, but like what I think I can do for people is save their mental energy, uh, for the end of the round, like, or
Mm.
maybe even their physical energy too, just like keep them fresher than they could be otherwise. And then like, because I think there's a lot to be said that all that thinking that you do, like if you listen to me and just turn off your brain, like I think you're gonna do pretty good.
Mm.
Um, and I was just thinking about that because I want to do that in my own game. I want to kind of like uh take the I would really think about it first, but then kind of swing freely when I'm up there and just be like, oh, I've made all the right decisions and everything already. So
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple points on that that's really good, Tucker. Like not knowing the course just helps the decisions. And then when you're getting like decision fatigue, like over a 18 hole, you're going through a lot of physical stuff, ups and downs, good shots, bad, a lot of mental energy. And each decision we make takes energy from us.
mhm.
There's like an actual number, which is crazy. It can link back to that. There's an actual number of the total amount of decisions we can actually make each day with our brain power for each day. There's an actual number for it. So like it really aligns with what you're saying. Like it puts all your effort and energy and focus into playing the best game you can, not sapping it out of you, trying to analyze, trying to think. in between clubs in a tight situation, just hit a bad shot. Like, so yeah, I could definitely see how like people can just free it up and they can just commit. Like, I think part of the hardest thing is like being their own caddy and should I do this and then not committing to a shot when like you have the confidence of a professional caddy who knows the track. Hey, aim at that tree over there. That's the spot. Rather than like I'm over there on my GPS and then I'm pulling out my rangefinder and I'm like, okay, I think I'm yeah, yeah. So that's big time.
That's the ideal version though, but it's funny, like there's some people who are just so stuck in a, or not stuck, but set in a routine. Like people have to shoot the number just to see it themselves. At this point, I get it, because I've seen so many people, it's just like part of their routine that they have to do it, even if they want to listen to me about something else afterwards, but they just have to see the thing, something themselves.
Oh, with the rangefinder?
Yeah, or whatever it is, but I've seen it with the rangefinder a lot. They're like, I'll shoot it, but then they'll be like, shoot it themselves. I'm like, even
Mm,
like, there's no way I can, there's no way I could or would fudge the number. They're just like, they
yeah,
need to see it for themselves.
part of their process to just
Yeah,
let go and like you being there helps, but they just want to. Yeah, yeah, it's like part of their routine, and they don't want. They're so used to it, like it
yeah,
becomes part of their routine, and you hear that, guys? A solid routine, man. Stick with a solid routine. It's so
yeah.
important.
It's not bad. Yeah, I think it's better, like, better than just like trusting me and or not trusting me and being like, oh,
Like,
because
is he
yeah,
right? Yeah, having that question in your mind, like especially if you feel like you want to do it, even though if they trust you, but it's part of their routine and it's part of their like pre-shot, or if they have that question, like, did he get the back slope behind the pin or did he get the pin?
yeah.
So either one, yeah, like go for sure. What do you feel like giving advice, is that a like a personal thing, like you get to build a rapport with the golfer and then you start to give them more advice as you go, or like on a skill level, or how do you, I could get more into it but I want to pass the mic.
Uh, if I see something, most people aren't like the resort guests like aren't like that great, and so like a lot of people will just say like, oh, if you have any tips or anything, feel free to tell me. I feel like
That's
most
a big
people
one,
are kind of
bro. If you
open
have
to that.
any tips. I
I,
love
I give people some like game changing tips or
mm,
just swing thoughts, and they love me for it. So
wow.
there's a lot of little nuances or little thoughts that you can tell people to get them going in the moment. Even
Mm,
stuff that's specific to Pebble Beach, like specifically the sand. Like a lot of people play from the other part of the country and the sand's not as fluffy. They got to play it out. They always play it out of the back of their stance. And when you do that in Pebble, you dig it and you don't get it out of the bunker. You got to play it out of the front of your stance,
mm.
hit it an inch or two behind the ball, and get it up there. Because it's really heavy. So you got to, yeah, it's hard to explain, but it's a pattern. There's some other things like that too, but that's a big one.
What are some other tips, or what types of tips um do you give golfers, like, because like I'll just like break it down in my mind, like
Uh,
I don't want to be the reason, like I'm the guy's caddy, I don't want to be on the hook for why he's playing bad, and I feel like if I try to like, oh, let me give you some advice, if that I'm like take going stepping out on a limb,
yeah.
this is now I'm not
Uh,
risking like my rapport with him. Like, am I even a good caddy? Because it could be good advice, but the guy doesn't execute it. Now, yeah. So
I mean, you got to gauge that at some point. Just like everything else, you got to take some risks, and or whatever. Like,
amen.
and at some point they're already like, I mean, at some point I see people leave it in the bunker 5 times, and I'm just like, you know what, like I'm
But
sorry,
like,
but
let me
like
help
just
you here.
please let me, yeah, like, and then they're at like that point they're like okay, and then maybe even they appreciate me. They're like okay.
Hmm.
I thought of what was another one? Like putting when people are like moving their head. People say like, oh, you're moving your head, but then people focus on the wrong thing, like the thought, the feel versus the real, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's it's not my tip, but I got it from another caddy who's like a golf coach too, or something. And he says if you squeeze this part of your shoulder right here after you're done putting, there's no way that you can move your head in the way that takes it offline. You can only move it this way. You can't move it this way when you do that move, when you squeeze the little part
So
of your shoulder
you
here.
said
So
after you're putting, but do you mean before or?
no, I mean the very end. The feeling at the very end is squeezing that front
Oh, like blocking it,
that front.
like not squeezing with your hand, but like
I say shrug your shoulders. You know, shrug your shoulders and then kind of just like I forget what the exact tip is, but I'll write it in the community. But it's just something
nice.
like
Yeah,
I that's what I say to people. You know, like just squeeze it. Or another thought is just like stay low through it, stay down and low through it, because a lot of people are just kind of like um,
yeah,
pendulum swinging and different things. So
yeah. I don't like to talk about missing putts because that's not the mindset you want. But
right.
at one point, I was having, I'll just say having trouble,
Uh-huh.
and putting. I was good at putting, and somebody said, "Hey, you're pulling your head early." Started making everything like from the ones I was missing. Um, and like, so I think it's easy to get excited on those short ones. Those like the ones that are so short, their tap ins is one length. And then the ones that are like kind of a challenge, you're not going to make them all. Those like you kind of have to you have to commit and it's easier to commit. But then for a lot of golfers, those in between that are like you should make all these and you're gonna like feel really bad and maybe even embarrassed if you miss these ones. Which you shouldn't, but that's just kind of how it goes. And I think those are the ones where it's like, did I make it? Did I make, you know what I mean? And get that quick look.
Yeah.
But yeah, so almost like contracting that and holding that, but I get what you're saying. 5 times in the
Yeah.
bunker, it's time to take a risk and help the person out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so you see when you can your entrance or your time to give advice. It's a balance and a dance. Like it's personal and it has it's not one glove for each scenario. So you kind
Yeah.
of that's where your experience and gauging it
And
goes.
yeah, some people don't take advice either. Like, and it's kind of like frustrating, or it was before when I started, and now I'm just like try to be more, I don't know, zen about it, I guess, and just be like, okay, that's not me, that's them, and I try to work with everybody. I try to do a good job no matter what. But sometimes it's like, okay, at that point, I'm just kind of like, I just need to. It's hard to get what they want, so but I'm really glad when people are communicating and happy and all
Mm.
that. So
Yeah,
because that
receptive.
seems like they play better too, like because I'm trying to do a good job, and you know the
Yeah,
mental energy of fighting me is taking away from their experience or
yeah,
something.
they have a block. It's not a smooth relationship or like the connection's not there. It's like they're trying to not listen to you rather than like
Yeah,
communicate and have the experience with you. And yeah, that's interesting. It's harder to block out that energy and it's definitely straining to like not
yeah.
acknowledge, not work with somebody. Hmm. I wonder,
But
does it
most people are really cool though. Don't get me wrong. I
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
like the outliers always stick out. So it's just like, huh, you know.
Yeah. Do you think it's because they well, a couple of things. Maybe they're not playing well, or maybe they could be playing, or they just paid all this money and now they're not playing well. So they're just like,
Yeah,
Pebble Beach round is not going the way I want it to go. I traveled all the way from across the nation. So like now it's
yeah,
like, and now you get to interact with that type of mentality rather than like, wow, this is epic. I get to be here. I have this opportunity. It's like, oh man, I waited all this time and I'm playing like this. So yeah, you get the wall and the disconnect, and That type of energy is just, like you take it with a grain of salt. That's good. And you realize it's like, you don't let it beat you down, or you realize it's not you, like
Yeah.
so when you're giving advice and stuff, like I would always be worried, like, oh, take this club or giving too much advice and then it being the wrong thing. Even if it was the right advice, them hitting the shot and like do you the quick way to say it is, do you ever get blamed? Like or can you remember any
Oh,
scenarios where they're like, what? Like they like,
um,
just
I
totally.
think it can go. Oh, sorry. It can go both ways though. Like once I get to know their clubs, I can almost get to know it better than them
Mm,
sometimes because I of that skill that I have. So I on the third, fourth hole, I can be like, yeah, you should probably hit like a little, either a soft eight or a hard seven right here, like depending on what you want to do. And they're like, oh, well, why is that? And I'm like, well, it's because it's this far. Or I'll say the numbers first, and I'm so like hard eight, soft seven, right? And they're like, oh yeah, you know, and
yeah,
just
heartache.
lets them know we're on the same page, because then they trust what I say a little bit more too. But you have to gauge that as well, because not everybody is so receptive, but most people are. They
Mm,
want somebody who can have that skill for the
coach,
greens and the numbers and matching the numbers with the swing. It's a pretty big part of when I get good reviews. They're like, oh yeah, hitting the numbers crisp and those reads were on point. Like,
mm.
and then when that happens, we're always happy anyways. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Like you say, should like in between clubs, hit the hard eight, soft seven,
yeah.
or like the way to play the hole. But then the reads are a whole other one. I am
Oh.
not, because you're giving them the read. Do you ever have tough experiences where either your read's wrong or they like the the drama on the putting green? Do you, like you-
That I don't want to like I don't want to be too cocky, but my reads are pretty
Let's hear it,
pretty
bro.
effing pretty effing good, bro.
Oh,
And
dang, bro.
when somebody's a good putter,
They're
they're knocking
making it.
them in. Yeah, like, and we get that synergy going.
Uh, that's epic,
It's
man.
it's like sometimes I don't have synergy with people, like, and look, it's a bunch of nuance too. People coming playing from Florida or wherever else, they're not used to putting on the grass here, so they, like, I noticed like some really good players this month in some tournament, they were hitting putts to the hole, not through the hole, which if you play Poana grass, you have to hit some putts through the hole to keep it on line so it doesn't like drag offline at the last second. You can't,
Diamond.
you have to, sometimes you can die them in, but I would like when they're short, you have to kind of force it in a little bit more.
Keep the
And
speed up.
so,
Hold the line.
so I was trying to tell them that, but they're just so used to whatever they're doing at home that they
Yo,
couldn't.
man.
Yeah.
So you notice so on the West Coast, guys, Poana is the primary grass on greens. It's kind of like a felt carpet.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the closest thing. But you get it blooms in the afternoon, so you can
Hmm.
get a little bumpy. But you
Yeah.
can have pretty nice poana. But it's really, I find it to be receptive with chips. You don't have to be perfect on your chips. If you hit it a little fat, it'll just release and go next to the hole. If you hit it good and crisp, it'll check in there. And then if you hit it thin, like you can hit a few different shots with a chip around the greens and you can get the same outcome, which is cool. So with chipping, it can be you can find a lot of consistency with different variants of ball striking with your short game. So it gives you more margin. But yeah, like good Poana is nice. Poana, it's fun to play on. It's different. Very different than Bermuda. Closer to bent. I'd say a little like similar in some ways, but yeah, so they're just not used to it, and then they're fighting it, and they're not being able to.
I
Yeah, because
mean,
you up on.
like we were missing we were lipping out, like, but and they were kind of just like not getting that if you just hit it a little hard, or maybe they did get it, but their body couldn't, because they're just so locked into other kind
Mm.
of conditions that I don't know. I don't know what exactly it was, but I just knew that it felt like we could have, if we would have like forced it in there a little bit more, probably made like five more putts in 2 rounds or one, or maybe even more, just so. And that, yeah, so like on the giving advice on putting and whatnot too, it's kind of interesting. Sometimes one person will be putting really good and the other person won't. And then, that's kind of an interesting day because then the person who's putting bad can't really complain about the reads. But, when they're both
Uh,
putting bad, then they can be like, oh, the reads are off. But
you're
I
in
don't think
trouble,
my
man.
reads are, I don't think my reads are never ever really that far off. I probably miss one or two, slightly, but nobody's perfect. But I get a lot of them right.
Dead
So
on.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. When one guy's on, they can't point the finger. But if both guys are on, they're
I
gonna.
hope they're both on, honestly. I want everybody to win, just
Yeah,
like
yeah. But
it,
you're like the low hanging fruit of like how to like for them to like blame something else other than their game.
yep, exactly.
That's oh man. So we were talking like right before we hopped on, we were talking about wind and
Mm. Oh yeah.
seeing the skill level. And you mentioned, yeah. Did you want to talk about a little bit of wind, and then I'll hop into a question?
Uh, well, just because like this last week there was a win that was like 3 or 4 times the normal sustained amount. Like it's normally 6 to 8, and it was like 26 of the whole day. It was kind of interesting though, because it was hard to gauge, but the players were actually doing pretty well in it. So, sometimes the players just don't do well, but these guys were actually doing pretty good. They were pretty good players. So,
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because nice. Oh, that helps. Yeah. What's interesting is like some like in Oklahoma, there's a lot of wind. On the peninsula, there's a lot of wind. Palm Springs area, there can be some really intense wind. So like some players grow up with it and learn to play in the wind. Others do not. And I remember playing in my first pro event, and there was this golfer from somewhere in California, and he was good, man. Like he was hitting 4 iron off the tee, keeping up with my driver. He was like six something. We were playing Diablo Grande.
ooh,
It's foothills of Stockton, and from the tips on a windy day, dude, course is a beast. And like you finish into the wind. Like the last few holes, I don't know how many holes, maybe last five or whatever holes, there was the wind really picked up. And I think when you're in a pro event and playing against pros, like they can play in different conditions and elements and stuff. And he freaked out. He hit the ball over he was having trouble hitting bad shots. All of a sudden the wind picks up, and I'm like, this guy doesn't know how to, he's a pro golfer, doesn't know how to play in the wind. He's freaking out and he's yelling at the wind. Like, he's like, this is windy. And I'm like, really? Like, and then it's like, then I go and I hit a punch shot that Justin taught us the punch shot, like, and
yeah,
just keep it under the wind and it lands on the green. I'm like, how does this guy not? And so I'm wondering with the wind picking up, and it can be a challenge for people who don't play in it or know how to hit some pretty fundamental shots that everybody should know, wind or no wind. Does it just eat people alive? Because I mean, 5 shots out of the bunker. If people are like that playing,
yeah,
and then the wind picks up, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
chance to play Pebble Beach, and they
yeah.
got
Nobody cancels either, so they're out there playing every day.
right. It's like all the pressure. I'm finally here on the grand stage. I got like
Yeah.
the ocean to me, on my right here, and then it's like, do people fall apart with the wind, or can you
Oh,
help
for
them through
sure.
it?
I try to help them as much as I can, but to be honest, like
Mm.
even at the stage of player that I am, like I was thinking like I still struggle when it's like that windy too. So I don't know, maybe that's not best part. Like I try to do my best at figuring out how to do that, but I think it's also variable. When it gets windy, everything gets multiplied in your misses. So
Mm, yes.
like I don't know, like what can I tell them? Like I tell them what I do, which is my little play where I take exactly two clubs off and swing, or two clubs more and swing it as easy as possible, and that keeps it low. So
Into
I
the
tell
when you're into the wind.
slow equals low, you know,
Mm,
um,
what is it?
or
Slow equals low.
slow equals low, yeah, because like when you're swinging slow, it
Oh,
comes off
it
not
does
as
come off.
hard. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I totally know.
um, but also some people are good at the punch shot, like the stopping short. Um, I'm okay at that too, but I just feel like I want to get more like motion through it sometimes too. But I like when it's really windy, I do try to do that shot a little bit more. But I know I
That
need
is
to practice
college, man. I
everything more.
remember you had a good one in college.
Yeah. No, and I remember that too. I still do, but yeah, I just don't play enough right now
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
really do it. But yeah.
I hear you.
Um, but yeah, as far as that, like I try to rely on what people are comfortable with or what they know. So like if they're not comfortable at all with taking some off, like some people can only do a full swing, which even some good players
Mm,
uh, who haven't played in a few months, that's people who I give like irons to instead of driver, and then I tell them to swing full instead of trying to take anything off, because what's the point? Like if you don't have
yeah,
touch right now, if you have a good swing but no touch, like you
yeah.
can still do okay. But
Right. It's something they got to work on. Like you said, you're not playing a lot, you got to work on it and then it becomes a shot that will hold up. It's a high percentage shot. But if you don't really play much or you haven't worked on it, then taking more club and taking a full swing, and just like relying that less loft of the club and maybe swing a little softer or grip
yeah,
down or something, would be a kind of a quick fix in the moment.
yeah. I mean, I
Prevent.
tell people that too, but like a lot of people will do it, but they're not. Some people aren't receptive. Like they're like, they totally freak out if you tell them to choke down half a centimeter. They're like, oh, I cannot do that. I'm like, okay,
It's my
then
red
don't do
liquor.
that. We'll figure out something else. But
Yeah. I'll
it's some
guide
people,
you.
yeah,
Oh man. Wow. Interesting how yeah, yeah, how like I'll take five out of the bunker, but I ain't gripping down a centimeter.
yeah, you know. But comfort is a big thing too, because like I feel like people, you have to work with them as well. So like
Totally, yeah, yeah,
putting
yeah.
them where they're at.
That's why like you kind of have me stop dead in my tracks. Like, yeah, it's like they're just going out of their comfort zone and they don't want that. That's not what they're paying for. They don't have
Yeah,
any desire. You can't convince them, and you gotta, yeah, kind of lead
too
them,
far out of their comfort zone.
meet them, and yeah, meet them in their space, and guide them the direction they want to go, and see what of your what skills in your arsenal you can provide that kind of aligns with that. What you said is really good on the wind topic about how the wind, so into the wind, it magnifies your shot. So if like you're hitting a cut, now it's a slice. If you're hitting a draw, if
Yeah,
you're hitting to the wind, and Hogan used to, he'd position himself around the driving range to where he could hit his balls into the wind, and that's the best wind to practice in because it magnifies your miss, and you have to hit the ball dead on the screws. If even if you hit a good shot, it can just kind of balloon up on you. Or if you hit a good shot, but it's not right there, it'll just kind of like bend on you a little bit. But when you hit it flush into the wind, it's like the flushest shot you could hit. It's
yeah,
so
and it'll still go straight and be a good shot. Not as far, but
yeah.
if you hit it good, if you have somebody who hits it good, you don't give them like, you tell them to aim it more straight,
Mm.
because they're not gonna miss as much. So
Right, right. So it won't blow. Yeah, yeah. So I love practicing shots into the wind. It's a really good test to work on ball striking, and yeah, I guess I'm used to. I like the wind because into the wind you can stop it. So for
oh
me,
yeah,
playing it, hitting it lower, and you just get more club and hit it into the wind, and it's kind of like almost like you're hitting into a Velcro wall. If you
Yeah,
just figure
for
out your
sure.
numbers, and if you don't hit it high, because if you do hit it high, it distorts the distance too much to where you're gonna have if a little gust picks up or what, you're gonna have inconsistencies. But if you can keep it low into the wind, it's gonna penetrate and then it'll bite. Even like chip shots and pitch shots into the wind, you know you can spin a little bit
Yeah,
more. Downwind's always fun sending driver.
yeah.
But downwind approach shots are tough for sure for to
Let me
stick.
talk about hole 7 with the wind at Pebble Beach. Like I was just thinking about because like downwind is harder than into the wind. Like but
Uh,
even though you can have some into the wind
tell us
shots that play like 130, 140, like
Tell
it's really
everybody
crazy.
paint for people who don't know the famous seven hole seven at Pebble Beach. Paint everybody the picture of like if they were your player and you were going to give the description so they could visualize it.
Right. So you're standing on the tee box. Behind you and to the right of you is all ocean over a cliff. And then the tee shot is straight ahead of you, but over that is also water. So you got water on 3 sides. And then you have a really short hole, which is downhill 10 to 12 yards. So it's like it drops down pretty dramatically, uh, surrounded by bunkers. Yet it's one of the easier holes, but it's definitely the most spectacular hole. But it's also since it's supposed to be so easy, it's exposed to all the elements. It's right up at the point like that, and the 6 approach shot are the most exposed shots on the whole course, pretty much because it's a big point out in the water. So it can be very windy there, and you can have shots that play from 65 yards all the way to like more than 150 or like 100. Yeah, it can get really windy out there. Like the last time I played, tried to hit a 3/4 uh, 8 iron, which should have gone 150 yards, and it went straight into the front bunker, which is
Mm.
not very far. But yeah, it's fun to club people on that. Like it's usually pretty easy, but sometimes when it's downwind, you have to finagle something.
Yeah, downwind sounds sketchy because it wants to release. It's a par three, guys.
Yeah,
As I'm sure you guys figured out. But yeah, trying to hit it at downhill, downwind, ocean behind the green, and it's a little green. It's
yeah.
a small, tiny green, and
Bunkers all around it.
yeah, you're just on the point exposed, man. What a fun golf shot though
Oh
to
yeah,
that's been executed, and then when you get to play it a lot, play it with the different winds and stuff. To from 60 yards, bro.
yeah,
That's pretty cool. Oh man, I'm ready to go play it right now, man.
yeah. Me too.
Ready to take a loop. After you painted the description, that was good. Oh man, so any other things that you'd say? I know we're wrapping it up here, but as far as like what you help people with, or what you see like the most common things people need help with, or what difference? I know the straining mental energy was a big
Yeah,
one I didn't even think about. And then committing, having someone they could talk with that really they could commit, and I think they need to learn that to stay calm and work on their own routine and decision making so they don't mentally fatigue, and at the end of the round they don't even want to make the decision, and now they're just stepping up and hitting a mediocre shot and finding trouble. That stuff's really good. And then some of the other stuff, those were kind of like stuff that I didn't see coming that were just like so obvious and so good when I think about it. What are you want to leave the community with any other last thoughts or things to work towards or aspire to? Or
I, as far as like my job, they always, well, a lot of people say in the community around me, like, okay, the way you might be with a waiter for like, 10, 15 minutes overall. They might be taking your order, whatever. You might be with the concierge for this, but you're with the caddies for 5 hours, so it's like a big part of their experience at Pebble Beach. And so, you know, I think we try to take, or at least I do try to take pride in, the whole history of everything as well. And some people are even better at that. They know who owns all the houses and the very soft skills type of stuff. I think everybody can be good and better at different aspects of it as well. So, different people mesh well with other people and need different things too. So, but yeah, I would say mostly kind of knowing what they want and just trying to be on it as far as figuring that out. Like, maybe I'm not the best fit, but I'm gonna do be the best fit that I can be for today. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, for that
so
match, that
try to
personality.
be flexible.
That's good though. Yeah, your whole job is to figure out what type of player they are and what of your skills resources you can send their way. I think maybe that's kind of like the summary, for
Yeah,
how be the best caddy you can be, and the job of the caddy, along with helping them, nurturing and providing the whatever resources they may want or need, and the advice and stuff. So
yeah,
yeah,
and it can vary widely. So,
yeah, yeah.
people
Some
want
people,
different stuff.
they want to know the history, and they just want to talk history and like keep their eyes big and look around. And other people are like,
I
let's
take
talk.
a lot of pictures, so I got good at that, and
Yeah,
you
yeah. I
know,
didn't even think about that one. That's a no-brainer, right? That's
yeah,
like you mandatory have to be taking pictures out there. Yeah.
yep, 5, 7, 18, definitely.
Oh, so you know all the spots. Like, hey, this is
Oh,
usually a
for
good
sure.
spot. Yeah, yeah. You can tip me twice on it if I show you my favorite spot.
First one's free.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We're good, man. You got to get the offer, man. So that's really cool. Well, yeah, man. Really good catching up with you, learning the job of the caddy, and yeah, look forward to catching you back up with you and having you on again in the
For
future.
sure.
And want
If you
everybody
guys have any more questions for us, I'm happy to answer whatever. So, I'm happy to come on again too.
nice, bro. Yeah, I look forward to it. It's always a blast hanging with you. Whatever we're up to, golf, food, anything.
Yep,
Everyone's having a good time. So, guys, yeah, if you have any more questions, throw them in the community on the platform, guys. And remember, pick a target, aim at your target, keep your club face square, your head back, and your hands out in front. Eighth groove.